So depending on if you've tried to connect to the internet recently on your Nintendo Switch, you may or may not have noticed that we recently got a brand new firmware upgrade available known as 15.0.0, which historically comes with big feature enhancements when we see full-on number changes. And in today's video, we need to discuss the cliff notes of exactly what, if anything, was changed as part of this update and have a broad discussion with where we are at with the Nintendo Switch system firmware overall in the year of 2022, with a look at things that Nintendo has even previously supported on other consoles, and break down and discuss whether or not we can expect any of these features to be added to Nintendo Switch in the future anytime soon. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, today we are discussing the brand new firmware upgrade that did go live for the Nintendo Switch, officially bringing it to a brand new number, 15.0.0, which typically I would expect a lot of feature changes or at least something notable new to be in part of the firmware. And before we do dive into all of the exact changes, it is notable when we look at the history of Nintendo Switch firmware upgrades and realize that nearly 5 years into the Nintendo Switch's life cycle, it was missing Bluetooth support, which we now have and came over as part of a firmware upgrade. So it's like, did Nintendo just need to iron out the details, or did they really have the capability of doing Bluetooth headsets the entire time, and for whatever reason just chose to forego that feature until a distant update into the far part of the life cycle of the Switch? Like, they've definitely made some interesting choices with what they've chose to roll out on this platform so far, especially when you compare and contrast it to what they featured and had available on previous consoles, which we will be walking through in a little bit after we go through the newest changes. And I definitely think that where we are at with the Nintendo Switch overall software, online functionality, and quality in 2022, I think you can say is somewhat questionable when you consider certain things like themes only having a light and dark section available and nothing else. Yes, we did get that big groups update, which was essentially a stab at a folder system, yet it's still locked behind the all software screen. And why that's not available on the main home software screen, I don't know why Nintendo chose to roll it out that way, but that's what we get with their attempt at a folders update. And one running joke we like to make here on the channel is just that Nintendo does Nintendo things at the end of the day, and that is what I think we are seeing them with this big number change to a new firmware, but essentially adding in no real notable functionality. That is a very Nintendo-like thing to do when you have plenty of other features that fans have been asking for and waiting for this entire time that you could consider adding. Instead, we get the following as we'll scroll down to the update history portion of this section, where you can see the patch notes in version 15.0, where it says our first feature here, the location of the Bluetooth audio menu within the system settings has moved. So the location change for where you can go to connect for your Bluetooth audio headsets doesn't say anything in terms of better connectivity, maybe more robust support for multiple types of Bluetooth headsets, nothing along those lines. Granted, I do think you can connect most all Bluetooth headsets out there without too much of a problem now. That is our number one change for 15.0. Our number two change is screenshots can be taken using the capture button while in the Nintendo Switch online application found on the Nintendo Switch home menu. This is the little red Nintendo Switch icon that we've actually talked about on the channel, because Nintendo is quietly supporting this app and this section of the operating system more, if you will. And I kind of have a personal theory that maybe they're planning something bigger and more long-term, multi-console, multi-generational potentially, with a service like NSO, and maybe this is the central application that will essentially roll forward. But you have things like the ability to take a screenshot in that app now. Why you really want to do that, I don't know. Then we just have general system stability improvements to enhance the user's experience. And note, video capture is not supported. Of course, we've never had things like full-on video capture on the Nintendo Switch in a functional way, which is again something that you could maybe blame on the power of the Tegra X1 and the amount of RAM that is in the console as a whole. But you do have to realize that people have been capturing their own gameplay footage in an easy exportable format, so you can share it online with friends and watch them, or rewatch rather, their clips of their favorite moments in games, since really the PS4 and Xbox One generation of gaming, which you now have to realize is it happened since 2013, 2013. We've had the ability to do this on gaming consoles since 2013, nearly 10 years ago at this point. We don't have things like a video capture option on the Nintendo Switch easily. Yes, there are capture cards. There are third-party ways to do it. Clearly, I do that for many of my videos, but I do think some on-system features is really what Nintendo needs to tackle here. And that's really where I want to pivot the conversation and honestly call out Nintendo a little bit for their lack of innovation with features on the Nintendo Switch console itself, because while I'm a huge Switch fan and love the library of games and love the new releases that come out, and I boot it up more than anything else in the house that I play by far and away, that being even compared to a PS5 and a Series X, they are still very lacking in certain departments. And it just dawned on me looking online briefly for the type of feature sets that was supported in the 3DS era, which is obviously before the Switch, and it is a handheld device. The Switch is now a hybrid console, but we had things like full fleshed out themes. And if you just look on screen, how simple it is to have something like a custom background. Granted, you had them on both screens here on the DS, but it just adds that personality, that individuality, and that flair to what you want your console to look like. And we've had this before, and we have a section for it in the Nintendo Switch folder system, or settings rather, for themes, and it's light and dark. That's all we get. It's like, clearly there could be a little bit of time and effort put into allowing us to make our own custom in-game screenshots, the background, and then you make the icons a little bit transparent around it. Maybe give us different ways to sort and group the icons, more robust like you could do on the 3DS and 2DS line of consoles. Even things as far as I found this Reddit post that somebody took the time to make a list of all the things that the 3DS has that the Nintendo Switch doesn't, and we won't read through every single last one, but camera, microphone, yes, that's something that the Switch does not have. You could argue whether or not it needs it. I do think we need things like online chat support on the console itself, not where you have to download a smartphone app to talk to your friends. And in a perfect world, hopefully Nintendo gets on board with what Microsoft and Sony right now are doing, adopting Discord as the platform for gamers to basically be your all-encompassing chat with your friends. I think that makes a ton of sense in an era where cross-play is now becoming so widely prominent, and it should be. You should not be tied to the platform that you own to play with friends that have a different platform. The camera, microphone, Street Pass, that was a kind of cool idea, not necessarily needed on the Switch, but just the kind of, you see the level of care that kind of goes into some of the ideas that they had. Game notes, notifications. I definitely think that while we have like friends coming online and stuff, you could definitely have a more robust notification center, and that would play into supporting things like on message chat, because why not send a message to your friend that's online that you see them playing another game, you want them to hop in your game, but there's no way on the console itself to communicate with each other. You then have things like Miiverse, which I never really got super into, but it was a cool additional feature, almost Nintendo dabbling into a social media aspect of playing together with gamers. Then you have the internet browser. We don't have an internet browser on the Switch. That would be a nice feature. We have apps like YouTube, we have Hulu, still no Netflix for some reason, but you know, you do have an actual internet browser that you were fully able to utilize on the 3DS. You have fun themes, download play, free online play, which of course I don't think we're ever going back to in the future when it comes to gaming consoles and where we're headed from here. AR games, of course, you could have that with things like the camera. You had badges, spot pass, activity log. He actually continues down the list, which is a little bit beneath the screen here, but things like eShop Music. I definitely think that whenever I boot up consoles like the Wii U in recent memory to check out their store before we kind of get the shutdown on being able to add funds, which multiple avenues have been shut down for that, it really stuck out to me that there was energy and vibrance behind the store while shopping, because they had some exciting music that actually cycled through and changed as time went on. And I even think they did specific like season-based music, so like really cool love and care that's put into the personality of the system that you're using itself. And it's just mind-boggling to me personally that yes, Nintendo once upon a time had these things and they actually stripped them away in the Nintendo Switch era of gaming. And now that we're so clearly successful by all accounts with the Nintendo Switch hitting over 111 million plus total units sold at this point, would this not be the time, if you're not going going to bring out whatever is next anytime soon. I'm still hopeful that next year is the year for either a revision with more power or the true Nintendo Switch 2. But regardless of all of that, if that is not the time yet, at least really refine and tinker with the firmware experience that the end user has and give some of the features that fans have been asking for this entire time. Trophies and achievement system would be another one that you could say kind of ties in more to NSO, but it also does tie into the system level itself. When I see an entirely new update like 15.0.0, I would love it if something really hit home in terms of the changes that I could legitimately get excited about and get behind. But here we are, the location of the Bluetooth audio menu has changed, and you can now take screenshots in that suspicious Nintendo Switch Online app that continues to get more and more support. But I want to hear from you guys on this one personally. How are you feeling about Nintendo and how they are handling the modern firmware of the Nintendo Switch in 2022? Do you think all these decisions actually are a technology-based problem and the Tegra X1 really cannot run at any higher level or support any of these things, and it is the technology side of it? Or do you think, kind of like I do, and Nintendo has essentially really more or less made the Switch user experience on the software end of things something of an oversight or not a priority? Because that's what I kind of feel like they are doing at this point in time, especially bumping the 15.0 update out and not really changing anything. And there's clearly still features they could change, but I want to hear from you guys regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today. Also share with me the biggest set of features that you hope we do see added into the Nintendo Switch consoles. So please share all that in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.